Hiya, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts and I hope you're doing okay. Today I'm doing a commission piece for a friend who wants a couple of Christmas clocks. Now you remember, I don't know if you remember, but I did a Halloween clock that was meant to be an art piece but turned into a clock. And I said it could be adapted for Christmas. Well, they saw that and they thought, yes, we want a couple of Christmas clocks. So one of the ones, now I don't really want to do the same thing again, but one of the ones they wanted was a light up clock. So I thought, perfect opportunity to show you how I personally would do this. So let's see how I get on. Here's the cheese board, which I used exactly the same as last time. I've already routed out the bit for the clock at the back and I've painted it white on the front. These are the LED lights which I've wound round so that they're all sticking up roughly the same sort of size. Some of them are longer, but I adjust them as I go along. And I'm just sorting out where the top is of the clock. Now I wanted the switch to be at the bottom so that you could turn it on and off. I did actually move this switch when I finished, so that the on-off switch was actually poking out the bottom so you could turn it on and off easier. But for now I'm just taping it in a place that I'm happy with. I'm finding where I want the first LED to be and just marking a spot so that I can drill a hole. Now because the G-board's got lines on it already, I can kind of work out the rough same distance all the way round, which is great. No measuring for me. I wanted them in a random pattern anyway, but I wanted them kind of in the same sort of area. So the lines on the cheese board really helped. Managed to drill through this time without too much trouble. And I'm just going to see how far into the surface they are sitting, that's quite proud, and I don't really want it that high, and I do move it back so that it's not so high. So now I've got the first one in position, I thought I'd better keep it there by just filling up the hole as well so the resin doesn't come through with a bit of hot glue. And I did wet my finger here to make sure I didn't burn it, but I wanted the glue to sit flat against the surface and not be proud. So by wetting your finger you don't get burnt. Well, at least I didn't. Second hole going in. This is the second hole. I will be cutting a lot of this out because it's quite repetitive. You don't want to keep seeing the same thing over and over. I just need to explain how and what I'm doing. So second one goes in. Again, I'm going to check to see how proud it is, to make sure it is coming out. And it's just the sort of right. It might be needed to come out a little bit more, that one. So I think I adjust it. Just by tightening it up a little bit so it's got a bit more of a stem. Trying it out again. It will have a few coats of resin over the top. So although I want it to be proud, I don't want it to be sticking out too much. And there's a little bit of an art to get the right amount sticking out, but you get there after a while. And I wanted to see what type of light would be shining through. So I took the safety guard out from the battery and turned them on to make sure they were working okay. Now you can see that I've done them all. I've put all the hot glue in, and the battery pack's sitting now on a piece of Velcro so you can take it off and change the battery easy enough. And again, I do change that to make sure it's in the right place later on. But I've got all the lights through and I'm happy with how much they're poking through the top. The board's a little bit dirty by this point because I've been drilling into it, but it doesn't matter, it's going to have resin over the top. and I'm happy with the fact that they're shining quite brightly. So now I'm going to use some UV resin. This is just one I picked up from Amazon. I couldn't tell you the brand. It's in a foreign language, so I wouldn't know. There's my little UV torch, but the battery ran out, so I had to go and quickly change the batteries. And I'm just showing you this quickly so that you get the impression of what I'm doing, but you do need to use a little bit longer on the old UV torch to get it to cure properly. But it seals the hole, so the resin that I'm going to pour over the top don't go down the hole. And I've got that back sealed with glue anyway, so I was just being doubly cautious. Okay, now we've got some tape to put on the back to stop the drips. This is the first time I'd used this kind of tape. It's foil, aluminium foil tape to put around the back. And although it worked very well, it was terrible to get off. I don't think I'll use it again. It did work really well though. It was difficult to trim as well, so it took me a little while to figure out how to trim it neatly. You can see here I thought, well, I've got a sharp knife, I just trim around the edge like you would a piece of paper, but it doesn't work that way. Sorry, it's off camera as well. There we go, in focus, but it's very difficult because it's sticking to the knife. So that didn't work. I did try a few times to do it, but it didn't work. So I ended up getting my chopping board out. This is when I'm realising this is not going to work. Okay, let's try another method. It's coming out quite jagged as well. Chopping board. I was quite close to my fingers, but I did know that I wasn't going to cut them. It looks quite nasty, doesn't it? And that's cutting lovely. Really nice edge as well. Okay, so I've got all the back cleaned up now and it's ready to be turned over. I did put a bit more aluminium foil on the back just to make sure that it wouldn't, the drips wouldn't seep over. And it's quite flat as well. I'm letting you see how flat it is because I pushed down the glue with a wet finger. Okay, now then, this is the resin I'm using. This is Vista Stream. It's new to the UK. I don't know if it's new completely. It's a German company, I believe. And I'm using Resinate's opaque white pigment, which I absolutely love. It's so white, it's gorgeous. Now this resin is cheap resin. It's a lot cheaper than any other I've seen around. The only drawback it has is that it takes 2 days to cure, not 1, so 48 hours. And I would say with pigment it takes a little bit longer. However, it's got such good qualities in my opinion. Now, I'm not being paid to say this, it's resin I bought for myself. But because it's 3 times cheaper, thereabouts, of other resins, I can't see the problem with it, just for waiting a little bit longer for it to cure. Now obviously if you're in a rush and you need to do things quickly, then it's not the type of resin you want to be using. But I love it. And I thought I'll put it on this cloth because I was going to work the next day and I couldn't do the resin work on the cloth the following day, so I would have had to wait anyway. Just spreading out all the white just so that it's a nice clean one coat with no bubbles. Okay, so the next day, I didn't show you on the video, but I put some hot glue lines for me to work to, hoping that the colours I'm going to use wouldn't mingle. Now they did actually mingle and I did sort out the problem, but they worked in principle. These are snowflakes and glitter. I mean, I love that glitter. I think it's so iridescent and gorgeous. And I thought, well, why not use it as snow, mix a little bit of resin with it, and it will give a fluffy, hopefully, texture. And it did really work well, to be fair. I will definitely be using it again. It soaked up the resin so quickly, it was like powder. So I had to keep adding a little bit more resin until I was happy with the consistency. And even when I put it on the board, I still added a little bit more over the top, so there wasn't too many prickly stick-up bits. Again, because I'd never done this before, I wasn't quite sure how I could apply it. It was quite dry because the resin, like I said, the paper type flakes had soaked up the resin, which is great because it would cure fluffy, but I didn't know how to apply it, so it takes me a little while to figure out how to do it. But again, I fast forwarded or skipped over quite a lot of it, so you can get the idea, but you don't have to sit through the whole thing. So now that we've got the snow where we want, more or less, this is when I was going to do the sky, and I thought I'll use 3 different colours of blue. Now I did tend to use cheap mica powders from eBay with no brands, or if they do have a brand, they're obscure brands, but they work and they're cheap, so I don't have a problem with using them at all. I'm just putting a little bit of clear on the top so that the colour on top can move freely. That's the plan anyway. Getting rid of the bubbles. I have levelled this clock to make sure it is perfectly level before I did all this, by the way. The last thing you want is it to run off a different side of what you're working on. So this is the light blue. They're gorgeous colours, these. I know they're unbranded or they're obscure branded, but they are gorgeous colours, and I will keep using them. The little red dot you can see in the middle of the screen is the recording button from my camera. It's quite off-putting because I keep thinking there's something red in there, but there's not. I love that dark. The midnight blue is my favourite. It's so gorgeous, so dark. Unfortunately, a lot of it didn't come through, but I still love it and it's there, and that's the main thing. I just thought I wanted to mix these colours, so I did them quite quickly together so that they would amalgamate while they're curing. If I'd have left them too long, they would have stayed separated, but I'm giving them a little encouragement just to mix them a little bit. This is my favourite part, colours. I love colours. Just using every bit of this resin that I possibly could because I didn't want to waste it. Don't like wasting resin. And it's all got to mingle in as well, because the night sky isn't one colour. Now you can see to the bottom right hand corner there that the blue is starting to seep into the clear. This clear snow is still wet. I didn't wait for it to cure. I thought I'd be clever and do it all in one day. And it did seep over the top, just a bit, but enough to annoy me. So I had to go back later and you'll see and fix that. But it's okay, it came out fine in the end. Just warming the resin up now so I can give it a little blast with the heat. Just to mingle it a little bit more. Oh, I love doing this. So much fun. Right, this is the following day. I've come home from work and it's quite dark, so I'll have to forgive the lighting. It's that time of year, unfortunately. It gets dark really early. And I thought the best way to cover the blue that has gone into the white snow is to paint it again and then go over with some more snow, which worked really well. And to give it a little bit more depth as well. And then at the end, you can't really see there was any blue under there. It worked really well. I also was very conscious that the clock had to go over the top of this, so I couldn't make it too high, because the mechanism has to have a certain amount of depth for the hands of the clock, but I still managed to do it fine. Now this is where, again, I've got some more ideas for stickers. These are plastic stickers that I got last year from a cheap shop somewhere. I can't even remember which one it was, to be honest. And I was trying to decide which scene I wanted on the clock. And I went for the little church. But I also love the reindeer. Decisions. And these are stickers, they're sticky on the back. If I could find the right way to take them off sheet, it would be good. Stuck to my glove. You've got to remember that the top coat of the resin there that I've just put on the top, the new snow, is actually still wet. I'm very eager. Sometimes I'm silly to myself by carrying on when I should stop and wait until the next day for it to cure. There's a little bit of the corner of the picture there that wouldn't stay down because of this, the snow underneath was wet. So I thought, oh, well, I'll just leave something on there and it'll cure and it'll stay where it's meant to be. And I decided to go with the deer as well, at an angle on a hill. Why not? The sky is looking a bit blank. I love the colour, by the way. But I thought it's got to have some stars, and it will be so good to have some snowflakes. So the stars are sticky, But the snowflakes are not. They're little window films and they just adhere to any shiny surface, and they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful. And I thought, well, I've got to use them. And you can get all of these types of window films adhere to resin beautifully. Pause for thoughts for things in the future, I think. So now I wanted a little bit of colour, and I found these stickers that I had, again, bought last year I think. And one of them said Christmas time, and I thought that's just perfect. Adds a little bit of colour to it as well. I put some little silver lines for the numbers, because you do need to know roughly where the numbers are when the clocks are ticking. Even if you don't have numbers on the board, you do need to know where they are. So I put some little silver lines just roughly where they are, and it gives you a good indication of what the time is. And they will be covered up with resin, so they won't go anywhere. I decided to put a little bit of sparkle in the top coat resin as well. Now, it didn't come through very well. It wasn't very clear, but it is sparkly. When you look close, you can see the sparkle. And this is the top coat, the last layer. Again, using Vuba. I don't even know if you pronounce it like that. It might be Yuba. I'll have to find that one out. But 48 hours is fine because I'm working, so 48 hours is fine by me. Just making sure it's covered all the little spots. And this is a couple of days later, just showing you've taken all the tape off, which did take quite a while actually. That aluminium foil was difficult to get off, but it did the job very well, I've got to say. Well, I hope I managed to show you what I meant by when I put the lights in, obviously drilling holes through and put the little LEDs through. I did do it in a random order. I could have put them round, if I'd thought about it, I could have put them round in each part of the clock, i.e. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 12. But I think there was more than 12 lights, and I didn't want the last few to be completely random. So I kind of did it in a totally random pattern, and I put the switch right at the bottom, so you don't have to take the clock off the wall to turn it on. If I can turn it on. There you go. What do you think? I put the little sticker at the top that actually does say Christmas time, and I thought that was very apt. I think it's beautiful. The client loves it. That's the most important thing. But yeah, these little snowflakes as well. They're window film stickers, so there's no sticky to them. But because resin is a very shiny surface, they just adhere to it like they would a window. So you just pour over the top, and they don't move. They don't go anywhere. They just stay where they are. So now, brilliant. There's so many window type stickers out there that you could put in resin. It's a possibility. It's another thing that you can do. Anyway, if you've got any comments, put them down below. I'll always answer comments. It's nice to hear other people's opinions as well. And come over and see me on Instagram, because I'm always over there. And I've got to do more clocks and trays for Christmas, so they will be going up on Instagram, not on YouTube, because I can't keep doing the same thing. Anyway, if I don't see you before, have a nice week, and I'll be back next week with another video. Bye for now.